Welcome to the Autism Housing Network and the Madison House Autism Foundation. My name is Desiree Kameka, and I'm the Director of Community Education, Outreach, and Advocacy. Madison House Autism Foundation created this visual in order to really highlight the fact that only 95,000 people were given the supports to move out of their family home in the last 10 years. Yet 850,000 people are living in their family home with a caregiver over the age of 60. We have to create solutions, and we have to create them now, because those 95,000 were not going to the home of their choice. Some of them may have gone to a nursing facility, a psychiatric ward, another institutional setting. Those are not the choices that we want. We want choices here in our communities that can handle the array of lifestyles, but also support needs. But there are serious challenges that we face today. There's a lack of stable, accessible, and supportive housing supply. There is a lack of support services for individuals to be able to move out of their family home. Individuals with autism and developmental disabilities still face institutional attitudes and abuse. And homes geographically located in a community does not guarantee one's experience of relational community, of being able to know your neighbor and be invited to dinner. Can growth of residential supports meet the demand? We know that in the past 20 years, less than 250,000 individuals have been given supports to move out of their family home. Yet, over 850,000 individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities are living with caregivers over the age of 60. We saw that 5 million adults with developmental disabilities are citizens in our country. What will happen to them? Can individuals with disabilities afford housing? We know that the average monthly rent for a basic one-bedroom apartment is $780 a month. Yet SSI is an average of only $750 a month. So even using all of the supplemental security income one has isn't even enough to pay for rent, let alone food and clothing and going to a restaurant or going and having a fun activity one day. So one would say, well, what if we were able to have people with disabilities working in the community and making minimum wage? Well, minimum wage is still not enough to be able to live off of. And if we look at the amount of gross wages earned during a 2-week period, most people are only earning $300 every 2 weeks. That's $600 a month. There's a very small percentage of people who are making over $1,400 a month. Clearly, there has to be a housing supply created in order to meet affordable, accessible standards for people with disabilities. Is abuse still happening? We've moved people from institutions into the community, but according to the 2012 National Survey of People with Disabilities, 67% of adults with autism will be victims of abuse. 25% will be victims who were sexually abused. 44% will be abused more than 10 times. And only 54% ever reported the abuse. Why wouldn't they report the abuse? 58% believed nothing would happen, 38% had been threatened or were afraid to report, and 33% did not know how or where to report. These statistics of abuse are alarming. Abuse is still happening, and it is prevalent, and it is happening in our communities. The direct care occupations are projected to be the second largest occupational group by 2018, reaching almost 4.5 million people and exceeding the number of teachers, nurses, and law enforcement professionals. Our direct support workforce is not big enough to handle the incoming need. We need to figure out how can we create career paths so that our direct support professionals are not on public assistance themselves. 45% of direct care workers are living below the poverty line. We need to be able to decrease turnover. Turnover is at 70% right now. How can an individual feel supported and at home if every year they have multiple people coming through their doors as their direct support providers? That's not a home environment. That's not creating stability. Will individuals with autism feel valued and part of their community? Easter Seals did a study called Living with Autism. In that survey, they asked parents what they feel as if their adult child would feel in the future. And less than 20% said that they felt as if their child would not regularly participate in recreational activities, that they would not have a spouse or life partner, that they would not be valued by his or her community, and that they would not have friends in the community with which they share an interest. These outcome measures are not very positive. We have to start changing the way in which people with disabilities are included and valued by their greater community. In 2008, the University of Miami Center for Autism and Related Disabilities did a survey in which they asked what were the specific obstacles to community participation. The number one obstacle was the need for a supportive companion, for someone to go with them. The second obstacle was transportation. How are people going to get to a church that they've been invited to if they don't have access to public transportation, or if special transportation services won't come out to their home, or they can't afford a cab? And then 36% felt as if activities were not available. There just weren't activities that would meet someone's support needs. This is the statistic that probably hurts me the most, because what makes life meaningful? It's our relationships. It's our friends. As you can see, 40% of people with developmental disabilities feel lonely. The setting in which that was reported the most is a foster home. The second was an independent home or apartment. So we're hearing that these settings are where people are starting to feel the loneliness. We need to recognize that as we're looking for different choices. 40% in a family home, 41% in a group home, and the place where people feel the least lonely is actually in a disability-specific institutional setting. Now, I don't want you to feel depressed after seeing these statistics, because really there is a swell of innovation and emerging opportunities that are happening across the country. I have been so blessed and privileged to be able to go and to visit some of these recreational opportunities, employment opportunities, residential opportunities. I can tell you innovation is happening across the country, and the future will be different. Stay tuned so you can see what types of innovations and emerging communities are occurring all across our nation.